Okay, today I want to talk a little bit about the Dark Ages. So I'll put my sunglasses on to make it a little darker. I've had this thing on my DVR for months, and I decided to watch before I went to bed last night. And so I watched the history of the Dark Ages, and I got through about half of it before I fell asleep. But it was about what happened before, during, and after. The Roman Empire, the western part of the Roman Empire was invaded by barbarians who sat outside the gates of Rome and starved them out for 2 years, then came in, ravaged the place, and the rest, as they say, is history. The western part of the Roman Empire collapsed, and what I found was amazing was that the everyday population didn't know how to survive. They went back to the basics. They were living in what we would call today shacks, whatever they could put up and stay out of the weather, I suppose, living in small groups, and barbarian rule was the rule. The soldiers that once fought under the Roman Empire had their own little clans and would go around and pillage and rape and do whatever they felt like doing, since they were sort of the only armies around. Even some of the Roman governors would hire these barbarians for protection. And and eventually what happened was religion, Catholicism. The leader of the Franks converted to the Catholicism, not because he was sort of genius, because it wasn't because he was going to stop killing and stealing. No, he was as violent as ever. But once he went under the rule of Catholicism, everybody else followed, and eventually organization set in, and that territory that he ruled is now France, of course. So when I was watching this, I've thought about this before, and I've made videos and got responses. What happens to our world if everything were just to collapse? Would we be in another dark age? Now, right now we have tons of information at our fingertips, the computer, but who's to say there's going to be electricity? I was looking at videos of we were running short on oil. If we ran out of oil, what would happen? And one of the people I subscribed to said that they would it might not be such a bad deal because you wouldn't have traffic jams and gridlock, and you wouldn't have you'd have to be back into a small community. But I don't know if that's the truth. I mean, would it be like that, or would it be more like the Dark Ages, where people would just start starving to death because they don't know how to make their own food, and they don't know how to catch their own food, and McDonald's is no longer open, and you can't order pizza, and there are no police. They're just little gangs with M16s or GATs or 22s and some sticks and stones. So it got me thinking, is it not possible? Of course I think it's possible, but is it probable that we're going to go into another dark age in the next, who knows? I'm not here to make predictions, but within the next couple of 100 years, let's just say, to be conservative. Is it probable? And I've seen other people say how the world's we don't have enough, people are starving, and we don't have enough this or that, and we're overpopulated. I don't necessarily think the earth is overpopulated for the earth. I think the earth is overpopulated for man. And what I mean by this is, sure, we have over 600 billion, but we have plenty of land to support that. I don't know if it was I think John Stossel had something showing that, I believe he said the world population if put into the state of Texas, would have a little bit higher congestion, that's not the right word, but density than New York City. So that's just the world population, 6 billion people inside of Texas. So, you know, even if that was just China inside Texas, well, that just means that you'd have, you know, the other 4 billion people that you could spread out in the other areas. So I don't think we're overpopulated for land. I think we have enough resources to support the people we have on the earth right now as far as food and water. Now, I'm not saying that won't change in the future. The problem, I think, is that governments won't let food and water get to the people that need it. When you talk about Africa and North Korea and some other places where you ship food in, and I mean, there's plenty enough food to go around, but you can't get it into the people who need it because you have warlords and dictators not letting that food in to the people that need it because they want to control those people. So anyway, make a long story short, so I really don't think that our problem is the food or the lands and land, you know, over dense. I don't think the world is over dense now. As far as pollution and all that, yeah, that's a different story. I'm just talking about water, food, and area of the earth. The other stuff, yeah, people can make a valid point that all these people are polluting the earth and that's causing all kinds of problems, and you know, I agree there. So, but I'm sort of going off subject. What I really wanted to ask or put out there is that what's the probability of us going into another dark age? We have tons of books, but the average man doesn't know how to do all the tasks needed to sustain what we're doing. So, what do you think would happen if we went into another dark age? People would start dying of diseases, starvation, and eventually the population would come down because people would just start dying. So what would take the place? I mean, the Dark Ages, after Rome fell, religion came in and organization followed. You know, they had some guidance. Well, today it's different. We have, you know, we're not in that period of superstition anymore, and there's a lot of atheists. There are still theists, and there's a lot of agnostic. But what would happen? Would the theists sort of have their little group and form their army, or the secular group and form their army, and you know, religion? I mean, I'm just curious. It just really made me think last night when I saw this video, when I saw this not documentary, but this history. Made me think, what would happen on a worldwide scale if we hit the Dark Ages? After we've had all this technology and all this easy living, if you want to call it, this not having to work so hard to get our food, not having to work so hard to have a house, just going to your job and making a paycheck and coming home and going grocery shopping at the local store. And I mean, things have really been easy, as Eminem would say. People are going to do things the easy way. So I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. I'd be curious to see what people thought. I think I can take my glasses off now. I'm back in the enlightened world again.